POV, you are a Yakuza boss. You own every shadow in this city. But you haven't heard your own name spoken aloud in 10 years because you were the one who buried it. You sit in a silence so thick it rings in your ears, looking at a hand that has signed 1,000 death warrants but hasn't felt the warmth of a handshake since the neon lights were still flickering in the old districts. You have reached the summit. You have the gold and the fear. But as you stare into the bottom of a glass of whiskey that costs more than your father's house, you realize the man you were is hidden beneath layers of silk and ink. To find him, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to the smell of cheap ramen grease and the rain hitting a dumpster in a Kabukicho alleyway. Stage 1, Shatei, the lowest recruit. You are standing in that alleyway now, your back aching from maintaining a perfect, subservient bow while the lights of the district bleed into the puddles at your feet. You are a ghost in a nylon tracksuit, scrubbing blood and cigarette ash from the floors of gambling dens before the sun even touches the skyscrapers. You learn the geometry of the hierarchy. A 90-degree bow for the captains, 45 degrees for the brothers. Every stinging slap to the back of your head is a physical reminder that your life is no longer your own property. You are uncarved stone, waiting for the family to decide if you are worth the chisel or if you're just another body to be discarded. The transition happens on a rainy Tuesday near the docks when a collection goes sideways and a desperate debtor lunges with a rusted pipe. You don't think, you simply step into the path of the blow, feeling your collarbone snap like dry wood as you tackle the man into the Black Harbor water. You don't ask for a doctor, and you don't ask for a reward. You simply return to the office, dripping and silent, and resume your post at the door. Your silence is your resume. A week later, you are summoned to a quiet back room where the air is heavy with the smell of expensive tobacco and the smoke of history. A small, ceremonial blade is placed on a silk cloth before you, not for a kill, but for a commitment that will rewrite your identity. Stage 2, Kyodai, a junior member of the family. The tracksuit is gone, replaced by a black, off-the-rack suit that smells of industrial starch and fits poorly in the shoulders. This is the stage where the ink claims your skin, marking you as a permanent resident of the underworld. You spend your weekends in a windowless room, the rhythmic, metallic tapping of the traditional tebori needle driving the first red lines of a rising carp into your back. The pain is a grounding wire, a physical contract between you and the organization that can never be torn up. Your responsibility has shifted from the kitchen to the sidewalk. You are the one who walks into the mahjong parlors and the small bars, not with a weapon, but with the weight of the family name. You find a strange power in the way the crowds part when they see you coming, but you notice the first crack in your humanity. You no longer see people, only assets or obstacles. Ambition is a slow-acting poison that distorts your vision as you climb through the ranks. You start to notice the gaps in the neighborhood rackets, the places where the older captains are getting soft and the money is leaking out into the cracks. You don't speak up in the meetings. You simply ensure that your specific territory is the most profitable, making yourself a necessary component of the machine. You become the man people call when they need a problem solved without a scene. You are the student of the shadow, learning exactly how much pressure it takes to make a man break without ever raising your voice. You are building a kingdom out of the silence of others, and you realize that in this life, nothing is forgotten, but everyone is eventually replaced. Stage 3, trusted soldier, a mid-level operative. By now, the off-the-rack suit has been traded for something bespoke, and your life is governed by the constant, aggressive vibration of 3 different phones in your pocket. You are no longer standing on the sidewalk. You are sitting in the back of a tinted sedan, managing a crew of 5 junior members who look at you the way you used to look at the captains. Your primary tool is no longer your fists, but logistics and the management of fear. The carp on your back is now joined by crashing waves and jagged rocks, reaching up toward your neck like a rising tide. You have a luxury apartment you're never in and a reputation that keeps people from looking you in the eye. But the bespoke suit has become a cage. You check the door handle of your car 3 times before you get in. You never sit with your back to a window. The phones have become your heartbeat. And when they go silent, the terror of being forgotten is worse than the fear of being hunted. The first true test of your soul comes in a quiet warehouse at 3 in the morning, where the air tastes like dust and motor oil. A former friend, a man you once scrubbed floors with, thought he could skim from the family to pay off his own debts. You are the one sent to settle the account. You look at him, and for a second, just a second, you remember the taste of the cheap ramen you shared 5 years ago in the rain. Then, the phone in your pocket vibrates. You look him in the eye and speak for the first time in an hour. The debt is the only thing that matters now. You don't use a gun. You use the weight of the organization. When you walk out into the dawn air, you realize you didn't feel a single thing when he stopped begging. Stage 3 is where you choose the system, and you realize that part of you is simply gone. Stage 4. Senior enforcer, the one who carries out the hardest orders. You have become the boogeyman that the recruits whisper about in the late-night diners. You are the lead executioner, the man the family sends when diplomacy has failed and a message needs to be written in a language that cannot be misunderstood. You move with a terrifying, practiced stillness that makes the air in the room feel heavy. You spend your days in a soundproofed office or a windowless basement, waiting for the word that sets you in motion. When the order comes, you don't hesitate. Stage 3 was where you chose the family. Stage 4 is where it removes your choice entirely. The carp on your skin is now obscured by a massive, snarling dragon that wraps its claws around your ribs and squeezes. You have more money than you can ever spend, but you spend it on things that keep you isolated: armored glass, private elevators, and high-end whiskey that tastes like iron. You can no longer tell where the man ends and the monster begins. The internal politics of the family begin to tighten around your throat like a silk cord as you move into the inner circle. You are no longer just looking out for the police. You are looking at the men standing right next to you at the funeral of the old chairman. You see the hunger in the eyes of the younger soldiers, and you recognize it because it was once yours. You realize that to stay alive, you must become a mentor to the very men who will one day be sent to replace you. You find yourself watching the recruits in the back of the ramen shops, looking for the one with the same hollow, desperate stare you had 10 years ago. You aren't teaching them how to fight. You are teaching them how to disappear into the mission until there is nothing left but the suit and the ink. Stage 5, Wakagashira, the Underboss. You are the bridge between the blood on the street and the gold on the throne. You are the administrator of a criminal empire, managing 1,000 lives and billions of yen with the cold, calculating efficiency of a corporate CEO. The dragon on your skin is complete, a masterpiece of suffering that covers you from your neck to your ankles, its eyes finally colored in with a deep, blood-red pigment. Your life is a series of boardrooms and backrooms, navigating a complex web of political alliances, corporate front companies, and traditional codes. You decide who earns and who starves, who is forgiven and who is deleted. But the power is an illusion. You are more of a prisoner now than you were when you were scrubbing grease in the rain. Every decision you make is a potential death warrant. The paranoia is now absolute. You don't eat food you haven't seen cooked. You don't sleep in the same room twice. You look at the city from your penthouse window, and the scent of the expensive lilies in the vase behind you feels like funeral flowers. You sit in the dark, listening to the hum of the climate control, realizing your life is just a single path of electricity waiting for a surge to fry the connection. The silence at the top is a physical weight that follows you into every room. You realize that you haven't had a conversation with an equal in 5 years. Everyone you know is either a subordinate you must control or a superior you must appease. Your oldest friends are now your employees, and every thank you receive is laced with a layer of fear. Stage 6. Saiko-komon, the advisor. You have stepped away from the daily management of the violence, but your influence is more lethal than ever. You are the whisper in the ear of the boss, the keeper of the family's secrets and its dark history. You are the strategist who moves pieces on the board without ever having to touch them. At this level, your life is defined by a chilling stillness. You spend your days in quiet tea rooms, the smell of bitter matcha and damp moss surrounding you while you discuss the destruction of rival families with the same detachment you'd use to discuss the season's first snowfall. You see the recruits and the soldiers as renewable resources, fuel for the furnace you helped build. But in the quiet moments, when the tea is cold and the garden is empty, you realize you have become a relic. You have traded your life for a seat at a table that is being carved away by a world that no longer respects your ink. Finally, the day arrives that you once dreamed of while you were standing in the rain, waiting for a car that didn't belong to you. The old man is gone. The throne is empty. There is a brief, violent struggle behind closed doors that you navigate with the surgical precision of a grandmaster. There is a heavy, quiet acceptance as you realize you are finally becoming the absolute authority you once feared. There are a series of phone calls that end in silence, and then a final meeting where every captain bows until their foreheads touch the floorboards in perfect unison. You walk into the inner sanctum, and for the first time in 15 years, the 3 phones in your pocket are silent. Stage 7, Oyabun, the boss. You sit on the elevated platform, the weight of the organization pressing down on your chest like a mountain. You have reached the summit. The city below is yours. Its docks, its bars, its towers, and its secrets all feed into your palms. You wear a kimono of the finest silk, the dragon on your skin hidden but ever present, its claws gripping your soul. But looking out at the rows of bowed heads, you feel a profound, crushing isolation. There is no one left to bow to, and no one left to speak to as a human being. Every word you utter is law, every gesture is a command, and every silence is a threat. You are the center of a universe that hates you and fears you in equal measure. You realize too late that the hierarchy wasn't a ladder to heaven. It was a funnel into a void. You stand by the window of your sanctuary, looking down at the rainy streets of Shinjuku far below. You see a black sedan pull up to the curb in front of a small ramen shop. A young kid in a cheap nylon tracksuit steps out, shoulders hunched against the cold, and begins to scrub the sidewalk with a frantic, desperate energy. You watch him for a long time, recognizing the hunger in his movements, the same hunger that brought you to this silent room. You remember the smell of the grease, and you realize that you didn't win the game. You just became the next prize to be claimed by the next generation. The machine doesn't stop. It only waits for a new hand to turn the key.